The Nimble with Numbers team presents Chalked Blocked with Bo Big Time McBrayer.
I gotta know what a $5 shake tastes like.
That's hot. That's hot.
I want winner, folks. You don't know diddly.
And his partner, Scott Stack Simpson.
Do you know who I am?
Trying to put Tiger Bomb on this jungle's nuts.
That's cute. I remember when I had my first beer.
I gotta catch a glimpse of these warlocks. Let's make a move. Let's make a move.
Hey, you guys, welcome back to Chalk Blocked, the world's sexiest, we'll just call it sexiest show on planet Earth for now. Since we're not doing DFS today, this is a special edition. Off season is underway. Dynasty season is in full swing. Redraft season right around the corner. The NFL draft is this week. What better way to kick off the off-season schedule of Chalk Blocked here on YouTube, Twitter Live, with me, Bo McBrayer. That is Scott Simpson at Nimble W Numbers. We have a very special guest today who's much more handsome than the two of us, kicking the sexy meter up 3 notches. He is a former manager at a Fortune 100 financial services company. So he did the Wall Street thing. He did the big business. Hey, we make a deal. He did that for a while. He's living his dream now. He works for ESPN. He's doing NBA, WNBA, and of course, our beloved, cherished baby, the National Football League. Eric Moody at Eric N. Moody, coming to us live on Chalk Blocked. We're talking draft. We're talking Moody's famous nostalgia posts that somehow don't make me feel that old because I think him and I are the same age. But I'm sure it makes Scott feel old because he was already an adult when we're reminiscing about the Rugrats days of Nickelodeon. But Eric, how are you doing, buddy?
No, I'm doing pretty good. Hey, I love that. I love that intro. You make it sound like when you're talking about my financial services background, like I was like Gordon Gekko or something. Believe me, I was not that big of a high roller.
See, what happens when you come on our show is you're allowed to embellish the story to keep it going. You're allowed to say, you know what, you don't even want to know what I had to do.
No, but things are going well. Things are going very well. Can't complain. Great time of the year. Got NBA, NBA playoffs going on right now. NFL draft, is this week. Also have WNBA preseason, and that season's getting ready to kick off in early May. So hey, things are going great. I'll tell you, if I were doing any better, I'd be a twin.
Damn, that's savage, Scott. You obviously can't reach that bar. It's been too long since I've ripped you apart on these airwaves. I'm going to save you a little bit, but you coming on here wearing the hot box hat really has a lot to do with me not wanting to go full bore. I might pull a hammy. It's been a long off season. I'm just now hitting those voluntary mini camps. I don't want to tweak anything. Right, go heading into the summertime because I got WNBA to watch. It's actually a good product these days. Las Vegas Aces. Sacramento doesn't have a team anymore, so I guess I'm going to have to root for the Aces over there. It's going to come down to this is draft week. The real reason we have Eric Moody on this show is because him and I have been grinding our bleeps off this offseason, scouting this 22 class, which I think is a pretty good class. It's a deep class, lots of strong positions, but because it doesn't have those sexy top of the first round picks in the fantasy skill positions, everybody's like, this is a loser class. They suck. I disagree. I think there's some stars to be had here. And Scott, do you have any specific football questions before we jump into the entertainment tonight version?
Oh, well, I have a few football questions for sure, but I'm going to make it a little nostalgic because, for me, I love football. And so I want to kind of know when, Eric mentioned a bunch of sports, there's a bunch of sports there in your bio, which I love, but football being, my main love, my main, passion for sports, what I love to play in high school and younger, and then what I like to kind of cover as an analyst, as a fan. When did you kind of fall in love? What's your kind of your first memory of the NFL, and kind of how did that kick off your kind of pursuit now?
Yeah, no, it's a really good question. For me, I must admit it was kind of watching some of those, I would say the first version of the Dallas Cowboys triplets, Michael Irving, Troy Aikman, Emmitt Smith, watching those teams like dominate and mow through the competition, in the early '90s to win those championships.
Triplets.
Yeah. So I would say that's my first memory of football. I guess whenever I found out I was really like a football addict and, just in love with the game for the rest of my life, I would say that was when I began playing in high school. I really enjoyed like the mental aspect of the game and really how that mental preparation translates, physically on the field. It's kind of that whole dynamic of playing offensive line for where, it's like the goal of the position is to physically move like another man, like against his will. So that kind of struggle and challenge and rising to the occasion, that's something that I was truly, we'll just say, enamored with.
It's a gladiator sport, boys. Woo!
Well,
Yeah,
no,
that's beautiful. I love the way you put that. The mental side of the game, but also just like the simple primal urge to impose your will on another living being, especially one who's strategically trying to do the same exact thing to you.
Exactly. Hit the head
Yeah,
of the nail,
and
my
so-
friend.
Oh my goodness! So you are high school. You're playing football. How did you know you might be able to play a little bit in college and kind of continue to pursue what you loved?
Yeah, it's I would say that very first year that I played, it was a big kind of learning experience because you're kind of learning the game like on the fly. How plays are being run, positions, all that kind of stuff. And so I kind of got better, I would say, as that season went on. That was like sophomore year of like high school. What I found out going into like my junior year, I prepared like a madman, like the off season. I was visiting with the coaches like every day. Hey, what else can I do to get better? I was like working out like twice a day. I get to school like early, work out in the morning, work out in the afternoon, and I would keep getting stronger. So going into that junior year of high school, that's where I kind of had an idea for where it could kind of turn into something. So junior year was a really solid year. I was able to start on the offensive line. That kind of transition going into my senior year for where I was kind of getting scouted by different colleges and things out there. I would say at that point, to answer your question, that's when I had a feeling, okay, this is kind of getting real now.
No, that's
right.
awesome. That's awesome. And so, Bo, I know that you have lots of college experience there, touting the football as well. Have you ever?
Not that much.
Never moved a man in college. I've never moved a man in college. I moved a man in high school, but not in college. You ever do that in college, Bo?
I tried to, but what happened was those boys were big and fast and strong, and I just wasn't compared to them. Like I was strong, but I wasn't quick as I used to be, and I wasn't as fast as I used to be, and I definitely wasn't as big. I didn't hit my growth spurt till way after these guys playing at Butte Community College, home of Larry Allen and Aaron Rodgers. You might have heard of them. It was kind of an eye-opening experience, but I still love the game so much that I did pitch in as a scout, as an offensive kind of creator, like a position coach, quasi like student assistant position where I would chart plays and play call and balance. And I got my analytics start really before I got my playing, like my film start, but the film is still my first love. Another love of mine is movies. And Moody, I love your football content, but if I'm being honest, your engagement farming about 90s kid nostalgia is near and dear to my heart in such a way that I follow a few thousand accounts, so I'm afraid to subscribe to anybody, like just instant notifications, but I'm hovering my finger over the button to ring the Moody bell, because everything you post about our childhood is dead on. Like I feel like we're kindred spirits, because every time you post something, I'm like, oh, I was just thinking about that. And of course, my wife was also born in '87, so we like look at each other like 3 months apart, and we're like, oh, that was the greatest time. So
Love it.
Movie, I'm a movie buff though, for sure. And going back, like the Scorsese films, like the Tarantinos going through the years, I gotta ask you if you think Goodfellas or Heat is the better movie.
Those are both really really good films. But if I'm being transparent, I'm like, and I'm gonna tell you why. It's like Goodfellas is my pick. Like I said, both are good films, but I'll put it to you this way: I think that there are very good films. I would say there are good films, there are very good films, and then there are classics. Goodfellas is a classic, so I love this movie. Like during like rehearsals, like Scorsese, gave the actors the freedom to do like whatever they wanted. But most importantly, like he incorporated some of those improvised like lines and scenes that he liked into the movie. You look at the script, I'm like, it was phenomenal. I love the narrative structure. It's got like a unique start and end because it like jumps back and forth from like the middle to the beginning, and then it just kind of like ends like sporadically. Thinking about the casting, superb. And you got Joe Pesci as Tommy DeVito. He kind of steals the show from like Robert De Niro, which is very, very difficult to do. So he was phenomenal in that movie. I'll kind of bring all that together with this. The soundtrack was fantastic. Probably the best soundtrack for a Scorsese film, in my opinion. I'll just leave it at this. The Layla scene. Wow, one of the best moments in movie history. I just think it's a shame that this movie won just like one Oscar out of 6 nominations. So I'm done.
And definitely not for Best Director because Scorsese didn't get one of those until very recently.
Yeah.
I agree with you completely. I'm full go because, like you said, there's a tier of classics, and I don't find myself in 2022 quoting Heat. But every once in a while, if my wife is rambling on and giving me instructions on what I have to do on my only day off this week, it's I'm doing the Joe Pesci. We're doing we do that all the time, and we're still quoting Goodfellas every single day, and it's still relevant. It's still something you can look back on, even though it was made in a different era. It's a timeless classic. You can go back and watch it, still relevant. It's your Pulp Fiction level nostalgia movie where every line and it doesn't matter. You're still keeping up with everything perfectly. You might even find a little Easter egg here and there on rewatching. There's so many little secret things that Scorsese weaves into these stories. I completely agree. Scott, are you on board with Goodfellas?
Oh, 100%. He was just like a low-hanging bro fruit that was kind of, like I love it if you're going to be like, it's a great bro movie. Like you turn it on TNT for like a half an hour while you're like, that's great, man. Heat is a great movie. I love that movie. Goodfellas is an experience. And the whole I amuse you scene, like I love that. That's one of the funniest scenes ever. And Ray Liotta crushes it, and everybody around him. Joe Pesci is one of the funniest people ever. So Goodfellas for sure. All right, now let me give you one.
I can tell that was a Scott question, like you wrote that, because that was a cupcake. I think they got it. We got to be getting a little hotter on these questions because Goodfellas is that's just a sneeze answer. He sneezed that answer. That was too easy.
I didn't want to put Braveheart next to it. You know what I mean? Then the whole show we're just talking about Braveheart and Goodfellas. So
conflict.
I know. Emotional damage. I can't get into that. But so let's talk about classic. We got 2 different war movies, 2 different stars. Yeah, go ahead.
No, you're good. I'm just taking it all in, man. Go ahead.
Tom Hanks, Saving Private Ryan, one of his iconic roles, one of the first kind of war in your face first person shoot. I mean, I grew up first person shooter, playing Call of Duty, playing all these games. You were in that.
GoldenEye. GoldenEye.
Scary as hell, right? And then a different type of movie, artistic, a little bit different. Also a classic, Legends of the Fall. So I'm giving you 2 of the best, 2 of my favorites. I could watch either one and love them. They're both classics. So how do you discern this one? This is kind of tricky.
This is a hard one for me too.
Hard. Yeah, it's hard.
I'll say it is difficult, but here's my take here. So Saving Private Ryan for me. I'm gonna go out as far as to say I think it's the best war movie ever made. It's a quintessential war movie. Beautifully acted. That's spicy. Beautifully shot. And it does take like the historical tragedies like seriously. It's got that serious element in it. I'll tell you, I think the soldiers, I would say, like on screen, I'm like they seem like real. Now I also like Legends of the Fall. That's also great, but immediately once I was thinking of Legends of the Fall and watching the movie, I do have one criticism. I think you guys are going to chuckle at this. So I just think of it like this: like when one of your brothers like looks like Brad Pitt, like why would someone bring a woman they love home to meet the family?
Bingo. Yeah, big
I'm
plot
just
hole there.
saying.
That ain't gonna happen.
You're never meeting my wife, Brad. Never.
In real life, my wife has a list and that motherfucker's on it. He ain't coming home. He ain't coming home. I don't care how fucking famous you are.
I thought you guys would get a kick out of that. I always think about that, like with the two brothers, right? You know, just with the two brothers, and I'm just like, wow, okay, all right.
You're already starting uphill there, man. But yeah,
I'm gonna agree.
Saving Private Ryan though as the best war movie ever. I know spicy. I mean, come on, I'm the king of spice, but woo, that's spicy. Because we're talking dozens of classic war movies that could rival Saving Private Ryan. I guess modern wise, like modern war movies, it's the best. But I think
it changed the game.
Yeah, for sure. But I mean, I could stack Black Hawk Down right next to that one in the same era. In the same era, it's more of a current conflict too, which I liked because they brought the rawness of a real thing that was from everybody's memory right there. And so I think Saving Private Ryan was just an over dramatized version of a war movie, but it was beautiful, cinematically gorgeous. I don't like the Pearl Harbor style where they weave the love stories in, and I just want to see from a classic picture like that. I want it to be Dunkirk. I just want it to be like shells going off around me. I want the surround sound experience. Yeah. And so Saving Private Ryan's a classic and better than Legends of the Fall, but close.
Bo wants to create more clients. Moody, let me just tell you, he's in the hearing business, right? He wants people to listen to their movies as loud as they can and then come to him at Costco to get service for their hearing aids. That's his game. Don't even pretend. Come on, bro. So no,
they'd be getting a great deal. They'd be getting a great deal.
Of course. I'm going to say it's Saving Private Ryan because two things. One, I've never visited the area where Legends of the Fall was made or any of those things. They're nice. But I mean, Normandy and just that area and I've been there. You know, the reality of it, I think, was brought home in that movie more so than any other war movie I would say in American history that we'd be able to touch and go, oh, I can feel that. Like I know what that's like. That's human to me. Also, the actors in both movies are stellar. But I mean, Tom Hanks, come on, as an old teacher, got to go kill people and stuff. I mean, it's just
that sounds pretty relevant to your life there, Scott.
I gotta say, it's not what I want to do.
An old teacher that's gonna go out and kill somebody. Whoa, what? Do you feel attacked right now?
Never even punched a person in my life. So let me just peel back the curtain. I do play football. I love the physical violence, but I'm not a.
But have you been punched?
Yeah, it doesn't feel good.
Hey, I could see that. I
don't like it. I'm not a thing. Yeah, I'm a punchable mug.
Right. Yeah, that's what I was alluding to. That I wasn't going to say that. You said that, not me.
Okay. All right. Let's hit some rapid fire questions now. I'm going to start with this one. No really explanation. I just want to know Will Ferrell movie, Anchorman or Step Brothers? Which one? You got one Night to Live, one Will Ferrell movie in the cassette, in the VHS tape. What are you watching?
Yeah, I'm going to go with Step Brothers here.
Yes,
he's 100% with me.
Yeah,
because Anchorman is great, but Step Brothers again, classic. Like we watch that on a weekly basis. We have the Blu-ray, pop it in the PlayStation once a week. We're watching Step Brothers, and we're everybody in the house knows that entire movie word for word. Everybody in the house. My 9-year-old daughter is quoting. Which you have to call me Nighthawk. Okay, Dragon. Yeah, I mean, like that's all. That's a part of our life. Like Anchorman was great for a long time until memes were invented, and then it's like it became something where we didn't really need Anchorman quotes anymore. But Step Brothers quotes are a meme, are a GIF, and they're just excellent. So
I love it.
Yeah, I'm with you on Step Brothers.
All right, rapid fire, no explanation.
Okay.
We'll go Moody and then Bo and then myself. I'll be the third in each of these questions.
Okay.
What's your favorite cartoon of all time?
Batman the Animated Series.
Batman the Animated Series. That's strong. Bo?
Recess.
Ooh. I'm going to go Gen 1 Transformers for me.
That's a good one.
I'll go back,
I caught the tail end of that as a young child, so I was lucky enough to see some Transformers in their perfect state.
I do love them.
Mhm.
Okay. What was the first rated R movie you saw as a kid?
Ooh, first one, I think it was a Nightmare on Elm Street. Yeah, I remember like watching it like on like HBO or Cinemax or Showtime,
Yep.
one of those channels, like one late night
1,
sometime in the
2,
'90s.
Freddy's coming for
Yeah,
you.
I didn't get much sleep that night.
No, probably not. So get this, same kind of answer. Like my dad, my parents split up when I was young, but when my dad moved out, he moved to caretaker ranch, and so he had this ranch house, but he had HBO. He always bought the whole package for DirecTV, and
Oh, yeah.
so we'd go and so he would be watching HBO movies on a Sunday afternoon. And the first rated R movie I remember was Bloodsport with Jean-Claude Van Damme.
Oh, that's a jam.
And we're talking classic. And right after that,
Yes.
we were watching Predator. We were watching all those great 90s action movies with Schwarzenegger, Jean-Claude Van Damme, Steven Seagal. Like, my dad just had a thing for combat movies with the action. And so, yeah, I remember Bloodsport. I thought that was the coolest thing ever because my dad was like, he placed it in front of me as like a wonderful opportunity. It's just me and him. We're watching Bloodsport. It's badass. You were watching your first rated R movie. It was quite an event.
That's Frank Dukes, if I believe. Is that his name? Right, the guy, real.
Yeah.
He really did all those things. Maybe not the dramatization of the powder in the eye and stuff like that,
Mhm.
but
Yeah.
I mean, he went over there and kicked ass in real life. And when I found that out. Like, I think at the end of that movie, when they put that little blurb on, that that made me understand, like, nothing is real. I gotta figure out, like, the blurbs are real, you know? So I love those. Those were so cool. Those are strong entries. Mine is Jaws. And I'm gonna go back to the 80s. And whenever Jaws came out, we didn't have HBO and stuff like that. I had a next door neighbor whose parents didn't really care about him. And so
watch whatever.
His mom was home, and she was like,
"Oh wow,
whatever." And I later found out, as an older, as an adult, I met up with this guy later in life, and he said my dad used to keep in his truck like a pencil case full of joints, like 50 joints in his truck at all times. I said that explains a little bit more about.
He's related to me, apparently.
So
that was all 7 of my uncles in this big ass Irish family.
I didn't know we were watching Jaws. I just found out we were watching Jaws when we watched Jaws, and then
here's Jaws.
Here's Jaws. Hey, there's a movie with oh my gosh! Like, I watched it from beginning to end. And then I don't think I slept for a week either. So, all right, that was a lot of explaining. So,
need a bigger boat.
Back to yes or no questions, real quick. Is Die Hard a Christmas movie? Yes or no?
Yes.
We haven't disagreed on a single one yet. So,
I love
it's not starting here. Not only is it a Christmas movie, but it's the best one of all time.
Yeah, it's. I mean, you kill terrorists. Hans Rimmer gets destroyed. I mean,
the holidays don't start until you see Hans fall off Nakatomi Plaza.
Oh, it's like one of my favorite scenes of all time. Yeah, he's got
rest in peace, rest in power, Alan Rickman.
Oh man, yes. Okay. What's the best video game you ever played? It can be simulator, it can be any type of video game, arcade, in an arcade, Nintendo, computer, whatever it is.
Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time. Yeah.
Whew, that's strong.
Yeah, that's
got to go with that one.
Strong.
Such a great experience.
I love that.
So,
Bo, how about you, sir?
Mine is, I gotta go with Fable, which is it's the Elder Scrolls version. Was on, I believe it was on
like Xbox, wasn't it?
Yeah, regular Xbox. Mm-hmm. So yeah, Fable on Xbox. Many days and straight hours of playing just to scratch the surface on that map. All the side quests, when we're talking hundreds of side quests, just in one quadrant of the game. And so yeah, I think that like all the Elder Scrolls are great and epic, but I got lost in Fable.
Those are strong entries. I'm not, not competing here. I'll just say I love Madden the most because I would just continue playing it year after year after year. So, but when I'm thinking like my role play or my jumping, I mean, here's the thing. This is what I would do. I would buy the game, and then it's a little trick. You go to Blockbuster, not Blockbuster, Best Buy, and you'd be like, "Hey, my game is scratched, and then they just give you the next game. Never mind. I should never have said that. I should have a bad Scott during his young years.
And that's why I got a weird phone call asking for you the other day.
Never mind. No.
Do you know Scott Simpson?
No,
Nope, never heard of him.
Never heard. I would say my favorite though was Metal Gear Solid.
Yes,
I was just playing that, and I'm going to say on the Nintendo, because if it broke, you were just like, "What? No!" So, but no, I do love, and they've had so many iterations, but that game in general is pretty sick. So
that reminds me of another great
that's a
one.
gem. It's like this is Snake.
Twisted Metal on
Can you hear me?
PlayStation 1. That's what. Yeah.
Did you hear that, guys? You remember that, right?
Oh my God.
And then you can't. The greatest part was like the game over screen where it's like Snake.
Yeah. Ocelot. No, it's a classic. All right, last question before we actually get into football.
Okay, cool.
Who is your personal Batman?
Ooh, that's a tough one. I know I've talked about this on Twitter with some other folks in our lovely community. I'm gonna have to elaborate a little bit on this. So I remember seeing Batman '89 like in the theaters. My dad took me to see it. Even though I think I was probably too young to see it, but he took me anyway. I remember that going to see that vividly. So since then, I've been a Batman fanatic. Read all the comics, watched most of the movies and shows. Like a lot of people are surprised by my choice, but it's Ben Affleck for me, and I think the Snyder cut even reinforces that. To me, and I think the others like even more. But here's why. So he actually fights like Batman. Batman v Superman's like warehouse scene. Great example of that. Affleck in the movies is a brilliant strategist, I would say. He looks like Batman too. Like Affleck looks like the character. You got the height, you got the jawline, you got the menacing grimace. Physicality, I would say, is important. And he portrayed that effectively. Like, nothing against Bale and Michael Keaton, but especially I look at it this way. I'm about 6'4". I'm a pretty big guy. Like, if I looked at like Michael Keaton or Christian Bale, I was like, I could probably break you in half. But when you see how Affleck played the character, I'm thinking that physicality's there. Plus, to bring all that together, I'd say he also pulled off Bruce Wayne very well. Very well.
Yeah.
He also nailed like the torture psychology, of Batman too. So Affleck's my choice.
How about you, my brother?
It's got to be our first disagreement. I would say Affleck's like top 3 for me, but for me, it's Bale. Bale, just the martial arts side of Batman, he doesn't get nearly enough credit for that backstory. That whole backstory where he's getting trained abroad just because on his own reconnaissance, he wants to prove something to himself, and then he wants to be able to fight back against whatever he's fighting back against. And it turns out it's his own self. So that internal struggle, obviously Bale is a landslide winner and the best Bruce Wayne. What it comes down to is I don't think he gets enough credit for his Batman side, and a lot of people give him grief over having the overly gruff Batman voice. But I thought that was where are they? But nobody else did that. So I really give him extra credit for having the edgy Batman that's violent. Like I want the guy that's out there to bust skulls, but he's also like for whatever reason, I like his Batman voice, and I like how it stands out apart from everyone else, and it got me practicing my Batman voice all the time.
All right, I'm gonna tell you guys why you're both wrong, and why it is definitely it's definitely Will Arnett in the Lego movie, because the Lego movie Batman is
you mean the worst Batman? The worst Batman? Is that what you're trying to get at?
I'm just giving you the hardest time. I am gonna say I grew up with Adam West as my Batman, which that sounds so weird, right? But in my mind, unfortunately, it's him or the cartoon Batman from the first series. Like that guy's the first. It's a voiceover, but that sound is Batman's voice to me. Other than the movie, but that's
Mayor Adam West to you now.
Oh, it is. I love him as Mayor Adam West for sure. Well, Eric, thank you for all those answers. They're tremendous. I mean, now we know why we love you so much, because most of those experiences, either we had something in common with them or we agreed wholeheartedly. Let's talk a little football now, where you and Bo apparently do not agree wholeheartedly. And so I like this because Bo, we're gonna do a little segment here. Fantasy rankings, it's pros because you're a pro versus Bo's. So pros versus Bo's. And let's jump into your tiers. I've got your tiers pulled up here. So let's have you share kind of your tier one. And then, then Bo, you can kind of go add his tier one and kind of attack it. Right. And then I'll play moderator and I'll attack.
I even pulled mine up. I had to pull mine off Fantasy Pros so I could remember what I put on there a couple days ago. Because right now everything's fluid. So like Moody, you don't have to preface that everything's fluid today because we freaking know already. Like we're talking, this is like maple syrup, like is heated up maple syrup fluid right now in the NFL for rankings. So if you're putting rankings on Twitter these days, you're just a masochist. That's all there is to it.
Yeah, you want me to dive in, gentlemen?
Go for tier one.
Yeah, I would. I know in tier one, and I was just looking at like a single quarterback. So I just lumped all the positions together. I mean, I can always separate them for down the road, but I think if you're in a draft and you're looking at like your top tier, upper echelon group of players, you got to have Jonathan Taylor up there, Cooper Kupp, Christian McCaffrey, and Dalvin Cook. Those were the ones that I had like in tier one.
So, Bo, where do you go off the rails? And you and Moody are no longer, simpatico. We're not in the same.
At number two. Number two is where it starts.
Number two. Talking about that. 1,900 yards. 16 plus touchdowns. What do you think?
No. I'm not saying Cooper Kupp, but like I'm assuming this is redraft, right? Because there's no way Cooper Kupp's that high in Dynasty.
Yeah,
so in redraft, I'm moving Cooper Kupp up quite a bit, but he's still like bottom of the top 5 for me overall because I think he's due for a lot of touchdown regression, especially with Allen Robinson in the mix. That was a big part of his volume was amazing, but it was also his yards after the catch, which is not entirely a sticky stat for him. And kind of an outlier yak season plus an ungodly amount of touchdowns because Robert Woods was hurt and Odell Beckham wasn't healthy all the time. So he was the only show in town because you're not exactly going to target Tyler Higbee heavily because that's just dumb. So I think he's due for regression, but it's not a lot. We're still talking about a top 5 player, but I go JT, then Justin Jefferson and Jamar Chase because youth and production are sticky, especially when you guys got guys that are putting up historic numbers at 22 years old. I think that's going to continue to grow even, although I do think Chase will have a tiny bit of regression on his touchdown total as well, because that's not his typical style of play. But I'm moving those two to the top with Kyle Pitts at number 4, because I feel like there's such a big, like, glaring cliff after the top 4 or 5 tight ends, where really it's top 3 and then a drop, and then 4 and 5, and then a massive chasm, Grand Canyon sized cliff where everybody from 5 to 35 is the same guy.
So hold on, Bo. You're telling me you're putting Kyle Pitts where Dalvin Cook is in Moody's rankings?
No, I'm putting him where McCaffrey is. McCaffrey's at
just in the tier, talking tiers.
Yeah.
So yeah. So he has
top tier. Jonathan Taylor, Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, Kyle Pitts. And I would probably put McCaffrey as the 5th person in that tier.
Mm-hmm.
So you have Kyle Pitts as your number 1 tight end then overall.
Oh yeah, easily. I think Kelsey on volume is going to be around there, but Kyle Pitts is going to get volume plus positive touchdown regression is inevitable. His big plays are going to continue to grow because he's got a quarterback conducive to heavy tight end usage. I'm all over Kyle Pitts from here on out. And of course, I was the earliest psychotic proponent of him coming out as a top pick. And I wasn't wrong. I wasn't wrong about anything except for the touchdowns.
Well, you never were not on Kyle Pitts.
Correct.
But
now I'm doubling down. I'm doubling down because I don't think there's any reason why he can't do what I'm projecting.
I'm saying, because my tiers are not cemented. I don't have my fantasy rankings up yet since, I've not been grinding the last couple months. Thankfully, I've not had to. You guys are rock stars for grinding, though. I've just been trying to be a family man. So this is a family man's perspective. I'll just give you that family man perspective. I love Kyle Pitts. I would take him after maybe pick 5. But I do agree with you about Justin Jefferson. Justin Jefferson needs to be in there. Justin Jefferson, I think to me, he's the Cooper Cup of this year. If you want to, of the next year coming up, I love him so much. And so I would go JT, and then I would go JJ. That's my my break. And I like Christian McCaffrey, man. I want him to be healthy, but 2 years in a row, you're all in or not. And if you picked him,
which injury was serious though? Which one was career threatening? Which one held him out for more than maintenance? I don't think any of that was relevant to his last 2 years. He had nagging injuries that are going to happen to every player, regardless. It's just when it wins your time. He didn't have a catastrophic injury by any stretch. Nothing that was long term. Nothing that when he came back healthy was a hindrance to him whatsoever. So I don't see any reason why you can expect Christian McCaffrey to average fewer than 25 points a game, which puts him as an RB1 pretty solidly.
I know, Bo. I just cannot trust him yet. I'm working on it. I know. I'm working on it. I'm growing my trust, but I'm not there yet.
I'll just keep scooping him. I'll scoop him mid to late first all day long, twice on Sundays.
I would say he's in my top 5 tier 2, but I'm going to move Derrick Henry up into my tier 1 because I think Derrick Henry. I know you hate Derrick Henry. You're all over him, but I do think that the touchdowns, he's going to get so many touchdowns, and that's for him something that there's regression for running backs, but Derrick Henry at the goal line, that's who I want to have the football with. That's my guy. So I move him up there, and that's about it. That's my change. Oh, rip me apart. I know, like his foot, right?
Well, no, Moody agrees with you basically because he's got him as his 5th player.
It's close.
I ended up. I was thinking with Henry. Yeah, Henry's like a tough one because I know he's in that next tier. But I say just to kind of close the loop, like on tier 1, I'm like I think we all agree on Jonathan Taylor. Like he was phenomenal. Had a great season, statistical monster. He finishes an RB1 in 71% of his games. One thing with Kupp, I know a lot of people may think, like regression. He led the NFL in receptions, receiving yards, touchdown receptions last season, but I still see the targets being there. I think he has a legitimate chance to repeat, as the fantasy wide receiver 1. With McCaffrey, it's I think there's opportunity and chaos there. Sun Tzu mentions, people are concerned about the injury woes, but again, to Bo's point, I'm like, if you look at over like the last 3 seasons, I'm like he's averaged 25 opportunities and 26.5 fantasy points per game. It's kind of hard to overlook that. You got Dalvin Cook. I'm like, he's still a solid fantasy option. I know I would say kind of underwhelmed slightly last year. I know he posted career lows like in targets per game, yards per reception, and yards per touch in 2021. I think that'll ultimately course correct in 2022. So those are guys I like quite a bit. You want me to go into tier 2? I know I was kind of bouncing around there.
Yes, sir.
All right, let's do it. So I would say tier 2, had Derrick Henry. I know we touched on him, Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, and Austin Eckler. One thing with Henry, again, I know sometimes fantasy managers will kind of look in the rearview mirror and maybe thinking about Henry, hey, he only played in 8 games last year. But, if you look since 2019, Henry's averaged 21.3 fantasy points per game, and he should continue to see a lot of touches. Like since 2016, Henry has 13 touchdowns of 50 or more yards. The only player with more is Tyreek Hill. I think he had 18. And so when you have a guy like Henry, he's going to give you I would say a week winning upside or week winning performances. And I think that's something to leverage. Like I'm a big Justin Jefferson guy too. I like him quite a bit, but you still have Adam Thielen, that's there. And then I would say downside to someone like Jamar Chase is really just with that offense. They've got other receiving playmakers that could take away, some targets, but including like Austin Eckler, those are all really great options in that tier. So I'll kind of pass it to you, gentlemen.
I'll jump in here. I love Austin Eckler. Last year, he was my RB4 in my rankings, and Bo and I were out in front on. Yeah,
I had you beat on that. I thought for sure you had.
No, I know you had one above. Bo and I were tit for tat last year. We were on different players. We're pretty close. We didn't nail everybody, but Bo's higher on Jamar Chase than I was. He saw that coming a little bit better than I did, which tip of the cap to you.
I was just like, you're saying he can't catch it because there's stripes on the ball, or there's no stripes on the ball, but it made no sense. I'm watching the guy like play better than Jefferson when they were on the same team. Like I'm looking at that going, oh, and he gets that quarterback back, and Jefferson's out there with Kirk Cousins. Like this is a no-brainer. This guy's gonna just he's so athletic. People don't realize just what a freak Jamar Chase is. He's not big at all. He's an Odell Beckham sized 5'11 guy, but he's just a freak athlete. And he does everything on the field that a 6'3 wide receiver can do. And he's just playing fast, quick, runs everything with efficiency. God, I just love Jamar Chase. And I'm glad you mentioned that because we were both high on Eckler. And that's why I have Chase right behind Jefferson at the very top here behind Jonathan Taylor. But it just kind of kicks the other guys that you mentioned down just another tier, which I mean, I would probably make the tier a little bigger at the very top because I think you can argue about semantics all day long about the top 12 guys because you're going to be happy with any of these guys in a redraft format.
Yeah, and it kind of makes me think about that third tier too, because like it does have a few additional players in it, and that's where I had Devontae Adams, Najee Harris, Stephon Diggs, Joe Mixon, Javonte Williams, like Nick Chubb, and CeeDee Lamb. I would say one guy that I would say that's being like overlooked is like Devontae Adams. I know everyone is thinking, okay, Devontae Adams and Aaron Rodgers, that combination, is lethal. But I still see the combination of Devontae Adams and Derek Carr, still being very lethal as well. Given the rapport and relationship that they had in college, they get to play together on the professional stage, and they made the acquisition happen, and so he's going to get a ton of targets. It definitely hurts, Hunter Renfrow, Darren Waller, and the other players. But I'm like, Adams is going to be a target monster, and I think one area where he can help Derek Carr substantially is in the red zone. I know Carr hasn't had a ton of passing touchdowns. I think that's one element that's kept his fantasy ceiling down. But I'm like, he's a very solid, QB2 with upside. But I believe with Adams going into this year, offensive-minded head coach and Josh McDaniels, I'm like, Derek Carr is in a position where he could finish as like a low-end, QB1 in my opinion. And then with Devontae Adams, I don't think he's going to miss that much of a beat as people think. And I think he's going to be a great value in drafts. So.
Well, and further on the Raiders side of it, it's a lot like playing Dynasty, where every transaction you ask yourself, does this make my team better? And obviously the Raiders trading away 2 unnamed future draft picks for Devontae freaking Adams, who's reuniting with his college quarterback. I mean, the chemistry is already there. They don't have to reunite. They don't have to learn anything. They already have an innate connection that quarterbacks and wide receivers who play together for a long time. It's like riding a bike for those guys. By the time training camp gets started, they're going to be dialed in and locked up, just like Aaron Rodgers was with Adams before. It makes no sense to think that he's not going to earn a big target share despite having a better supporting cast around him. And that can only make him better because supporting cast for wide receivers is just as important as your alpha. I mean, we saw Green Bay struggle with not having a tertiary receiving option behind Adams and then the outlet back with Aaron Jones. It was those 2 guys, and then everybody else had scraps to eat from.
You're going to have in the Raiders offense, you're going to have a top 5 tight end. You're going to have a top 5 wide receiver. How are you not going to have a top 5 quarterback or not 5, but top 10, right? At least double that. Top 10 quarterback. I do love that as your late round quarterback option.
Sleeping on Renfrow too. And
I know.
Jacobs was top 5 in targets from running backs last year. This offense loves to swing the ball out. It's nothing complicated because Jacobs isn't your Austin Eckler guy who runs the whole route tree, but getting him out in space is effective. Hunter Renfrow is nicknamed Third and Renfrow for a reason. The guy's just a crafty little bugger that knows how to get open. And what are you going to do? You're going to have Adams as your first option wide open because he's the best route runner there is. Then you have Darren Waller pressing the seam. Good luck bracketing one of those guys. And then you have Renfrow who's going to sit down as your dump off, or you have an RPO screen out to Jacobs, and you got another athlete in space.
Yeah.
This offense is scary because they have such a complementary supporting cast of receivers to Devontae Adams.
I was just thinking wheel route. I was thinking of Jacobs lining up offset to the left and having those receivers run those routes on the left and having Jacobs sneak out to the back of the right and run the wheel. I love Madden. Anyway, I do like that. And then I'll say somebody in there that I like a lot, and I think that a lot of people do, is Javonte Williams. You saw what he did last year as a rookie in space, and he didn't ever really get to take the lid off until later in the season, which we kind of knew. I think we wanted him to become a little bit more sooner, and he did a great job with the touches he did. I mean, equaling Melvin Gordon pretty much touch for touch each week. Touchdowns were more Melvin Gordon style, where he got down to the goal line and give that. Without that competition, I love Javonte Williams. I think he'll be a great pick in that level. And I love him more than Nick Chubb just because of the non-receipt entity. And I mean, maybe it'll be a little bit different with Deshaun Watson, but I don't see Nick Chubb being a scramble running back. I see that Deshaun Watson will scramble, and then maybe Nick Chubb will block for him. He'll just grab Chubb's jersey and be like, run. I'm just going to, tag along behind you. Just knock somebody out for me, and I'll run right behind you. So I'm not.
I'm having a hard time. I'm having a hard time putting Nick Chubb above Antonio Gibson. For some reason, Gibson I see on the ascent, and I see Chubb on the descent. But I think at this very moment in time for the season, they're almost indistinguishable talents. And I think they're the same player this year, but they're heading in two different directions. So if I'm looking to really hammer that home stretch in the second half of the season, push for a championship, I think I'd rather have Gibson over Chubb, because Chubb hasn't been reliable at the back end of seasons anymore. The last 2 years, we've had to get our wins early from Nick Chubb and then hope and pray that our depth wins us the championships. When if you have Gibson the last couple of years, you've been winning trophies.
That's actually true. I will say this. I love CD Lamb. I've drafted him 2 years in a row. I'm drafting him again this year on my team.
Oh, yeah.
My main league team. My team name is not changing. It is CD's TDs. And his TD progression is set to go through the roof.
His everything is set to do that if he rises.
Yeah. Going to get a ton of targets.
Oh my gosh, you might get 200 targets. I'm sorry.
Calm
down. I'm making a scene. But I do love CD Lamb there. So that's somebody who I would put at the top, right behind Devontae Adams, maybe even ahead of Stephon Diggs. I don't know. It's kind of scary. They gave him all that money, but I think Diggs will have games where he did last year, where he's getting 15 points, 16 points, 12 points, 13 points, and then CD Lamb will have games 30 points. And I don't know if Diggs will do that as much. So it's kind of more not boom or bust, but higher upside, I think, for CeeDee Lamb week, more variance, but Diggs will be there for sure. I do like.
Oh yeah.
All right, I think that was good. We weren't too hard on him. Do you think, Moody? Were you? That was pretty good, right? But it wasn't too bad.
No, it's good. Yeah, really good. Really good conversation. So no, I thought it was good. It's always fun going through that exercise. I would say during this time of the year, like right before the NFL draft, because you get to see where some of these highly touted rookies land, just to kind of get an idea of the landscape before kind of readjusting again. So it's always a great exercise to go through. Yeah,
I love it. All right, we got one more football exercise, a little bit more quick hitter. We're going to go through who are some of the mid to late round guys that you're kind of looking at if you were drafting today. I know the landscape will change, like Bo said, everything's fluid, but there are values.
Tomorrow, nothing matters.
Nothing matters at all. I know, but things are fluid. But I'm kind of going from right now 4-for-4's rankings. They kind of pull from different places. Not a lot out there yet. But I'll just kind of go from there. Where are you guys looking to find some value? And Eric, we can start with you in that mid round, from 6 to 10, and we'll talk RBs first. Any RB that you're kind of thinking could bolster up and jump up a tier this year?
Yeah, it's two that really come to mind. Travis Etienne is one, and Rashad Penny, just because of the Chris Carson situation, which isn't good, but I think many casual fantasy football managers expect Chris Carson to come back. But those are two that come to mind.
I think those are great. But what do you think of those?
No on ETN. Yes on Penny.
Why? Are you a James Robinson truther?
No, I just don't think ETN's that good. I think he was his everything was inflated last year because of his first round draft capital. He was made out to be some receiving ace when that's not the case. Yeah, I just rhymed.
Ace is not the case.
And ETN is a pure athlete, and he's a space athlete. I love what he does with the ball in his hands, but he's still raw. And raw, missing your rookie season with a very tough injury to fully recover from. with an upgrade in offensive systems, but it's going from the lowest bar up a couple rungs with Doug Peterson. I just don't see it for ETN. I don't see the upside that everybody else does. I don't think he's that good of a receiver, and I don't think that the Jaguars are really suited to his skill set with all the moves they've been making. And we just don't know what Trevor Lawrence can do when he's on this team. It's just this team is such a dumpster fire every single year. Why would I want a running back who I felt was questionable coming into the draft last year and then broke his foot? I mean, I can't stand by ETN as a value because I think he's priced appropriately for his risk reward situation. A lot of people are jumping up to get him, and I just won't do it. I can't do it. My running back that I feel is going to take on a huge value, especially down the stretch, is Khalil Herbert of the Bears. I feel like this offense is going to move in a more physical direction, like old style Bears football. And they're going to be running a lot of the same schematic themes as the Eagles did last year in the second half, when they really figured out that if they drop Jalen Hurts back 30 times, they're going to lose every game. And when they've started running the football with a tandem back system, that means that Montgomery and Herbert are going to eat. I just think that's a two-headed monster of really skilled running backs and a good running system, where Fields is going to be pushing the envelope with RPOs. That Bears offense is severely underrated, and if they add a top receiver in this draft, they're on the verge of taking off in year one, despite being pretty deflated in value these days. Yeah. My other guy was the wide receiver. I'll move right to that because he's also a Chicago Bear, and that's Darnell Mooney. Yeah, I have no idea how he's falling to the 8th, 9th, 10th round these days, because the target volume was already there last year. He out-targeted Allen Robinson nearly 2-1 in a lot of games. Mm-hmm. And then you get rid of A-Rob. You get rid of 6 of the 13 tight ends that they had last year on their roster. And you have another year of experience for Justin Fields, who loves Darnell Mooney, just loves him to death. And that's kind of where I'm at. I'm down on Kmet because I really don't think Kmet's that good. But I also love Darnell Mooney because of what he's already shown, despite all the odds of being a later round pick, and how he's grown into that alpha role, which a lot of people still don't even think he's capable of. He just did it last year.
So you went both your guys. You went Darnell Mooney for wide receiver, and then for running back, who did you say? You said
Khalil Herbert.
Khalil Herbert. So Khalil Herbert you can get later though, like in the
very late.
So that you kind of jump to your like late round guy. So we'll pin it at
that's fine. That's fine.
Then when we do our late round guy, you can give your 6th to 8th round guy or 10th round guy. I'll say in yeah, I know, but you do what you want, man. I love it. I'll say my guy in the earlier range that I've been looking to pick up is Cordell Patterson. He's still around. I mean, I love Cordell Patterson. Bo, you hate him. I know. Bo hated him. I love Cordell Patterson.
He made me good money last year, so I don't hate him.
I love Cordell. As the RB 30 in the 8th round, I'm not. If I'm drafting how I normally draft, that might be my RB3 or my RB4. That I can live with that. I can live with Patterson's upside in that offense. And that, I don't know how it's going to be, but you've got Marcus Mariota there, who is going to make it so that he's going to run the football sometimes, I think. And that kind of adds a little bit of a dimension for Patterson if he's back there. If you got an option with 2 guys who can run the football, I think it just gives that skill set a little bit more of a play again this year. Bo, are you out on Patterson? You're shaking your head like I just
I think after next weekend when the draft is over, we'll all be out on Cordell Patterson.
Okay. All right. Notwithstanding, if nothing happens, okay. But who do you think the Falcons are going to draft?
Probably Kenneth Walker. I would say if they draft Kenneth Walker, we're wheels up on that dude from Michigan State can run the football, and putting him in that system where Arthur Smith wants to pound those edges and press those zone reads and leverage off the speed of the offensive line better. Where Mike Davis just didn't have the athleticism to get there. That's why they really went to Cordell Patterson, because they found out that, holy crap, this old man still has some juice, and he can actually has the speed to press the boundary before cutting up field. And that's Arthur Smith's system. Like Derrick Henry isn't seen as a speed back, but that's a 4-4 guy in that giant frame. You need guys that can stress the defense laterally before planting up field, and I think Kenneth Walker is a perfect fit for that. So if the Falcons get a Breece Hall or Kenneth Walker, then you're not even going to hear about Cordero Patterson as a running back next year.
Oh no. I mean, okay. So I'll pick somebody who's not going to run away. I'll get your boy Tony Pollard. Then I would love to have Tony Pollard. And again. I had him on a bunch of my teams last year, and
he's a favorite of the show.
Yeah, he's a favorite of the show. We love him. He's like the patron saint of the backfield. So what about you for your wide receiver? Who are you looking to snatch up? Wide receivers are tenuous, and I do love them. They're my favorite. They're my bread and butter. I have a theory. It's called a wide receiver 2 theory, and it looks at how overvalued wide receiver 1s are. And there's always value to be had. So, for example, last year, Robert Woods overvalued wide receiver 2, Cooper Kupp, a lot of value there. Not that's the only one. Going back, there's research on it that I've done. But anyway, who do you want in the 6 to 10 round who's going to give you that wide receiver 1 opportunity possibly week to week?
Yeah, so Bo hit on one name that I like quite a bit. Darnell Mooney. He's someone that does have wide receiver 1 like upside, who you could get potentially as a wide receiver 2 or wide receiver 3, depending on how the draft is going. I would say another name, which, and it may be because of Jalen Hurts, obviously. I know Bo kind of touched on that, was Devontae Smith. Was someone that I keep seeing available in drafts.
Thank you.
Later,
the Slim Reaper.
Yeah,
put some respect on his name.
Yeah, I'm like, he's a player that could easily exceed expectations, and he's another great example of someone that can be drafted as a wide receiver 3 who has wide receiver 2 upside, in my opinion. So those are my 2 kind of mid-round options.
No, I like both.
The reason why I did my late round running back is because I had Penny as my mid-round, so it took care of that.
Yeah, no, I love it. Bo, I'm going to say mine is somebody who's right down there, always undervalued, and he's always a guy for me who is not being respected. I've had him on a lot of my teams. Brandon Cooks. Yeah. I mean, come on. What's he got to do, people? What's he got to do? I mean, I know he wasn't healthy the whole year and the quarterback issues here and there, but he's the man, though. If he's going to be the wide receiver 1 on that team, I don't think they're drafting another quarterback. Davis Mills is going to be the quarterback. So they're going to be building off-season rapport. They already started last year. So I love Brandon Cooks this year. I'm on all my teams. He's going to be wide receiver 34. That's ridiculous.
I'll raise you a Marquez Callaway because I think that dude's going to the moon.
I do. Marquez Callaway, yeah. I do like him too.
I can get Marquez Callaway anytime I want in the draft. And I'll go and swoop him in the 11th or 12th one. I know he'll probably last till the 14th or 15th. But I want this guy on my team because Jameis Winston's coming back, people. This offensive line is going to get addressed. It's a solid defensive unit. We have a more physical presence where I think that they're going to give Jameis the chance to just throw bombs down the field off play action with Kamara. And Marquez Callaway's got the ball skills that I covet on a late round wide receiver. Built-in upside, verticality, and he's a big body. He works hard. I love hardworking wide receivers, especially when they back it up with athleticism. Why is nobody talking about Marquez Callaway? I don't understand. The dude is so talented, and because the Saints are poison right now, that I think that's most of it.
Wide receiver 81 on 444 right now. That's not good. It's good. It's good. It's really good.
It's value.
Yeah, it's value. I do like that call. What about you, Moody? Where are you looking for that late round wide receiver?
Late round wide receiver. I would say 2 names that come to mind is for one, Jamison Crowder. I believe he's in a really good situation with the Bills. High octane offense, and I think is in a position to get a lot more targets than what people realize. And also Nico Collins. I know we talked about Brandon Cooks briefly, and the opportunity that he has, but Nico Collins is another player that I like quite a bit late that I'm willing to roll the dice on.
Oh,
love it.
Yeah.
That's funny for me because those 2 guys on the Texans that I was the most wrong about last offseason, Davis Mills, Nico Collins. I didn't think either one of them was worth a damn. They both went to the Texans and they both balled out at a pro level right off the bat, proved me wrong, and now I'm a big fan of both. I have a lot of Davis Mills. I have a lot of Nico Collins because when you prove me wrong in the good way, where it's like I didn't think you were anything special, but then you showed to be at least better than average. I'm on board with that. With players that do that to me, I'm not going to take it personally. I'm going to take it in stride and start taking these guys and put them on my team so I don't have to curse at them every week.
Well, you put them in your DFS lineups last year at the end. That's what we were doing. You go back and look at Nimble W numbers. He had learned. He looked at the data. He said, I got to figure it out. And that's what the smarts do. So he does. I'm going to say, I think some of these are just smoke and mirrors. Alan Lazard being drafted in the 13th round, or, to me sounds insane. I think that'll change. So I don't think I think it's kind of fluff. Honestly, I think that'll be corrected, but maybe not for this player. Russell Gage as that wide receiver 3 in that offense. Oh my gosh, a wide receiver 50, 51 right now. That's got to come up to 40 by the time the season starts. But still, Russell Gage is going to be a value week to week. He's not Antonio Brown. He's a different player.
He's going to replace Tyler Johnson, which is poetic. It's poetic that because the gigantic talent advantage of Gage over Tyler Johnson in that slot position is massive. We're talking Tom Brady's going to be looking at him like, I got Edelman back. That's basically what it's going to feel like.
Yeah, he can catch the ball. So I like it. All right, Eric, what about your late round RB? Who's somebody in the flyer? This is the Denny Carter territory here. You got a name like a David Bowie song along with.
I need to smoke more if I'm going to make a Denny Carter pick.
An obscure reference to some, no, I'm just kidding. But who are you taking late?
Yeah, I'm also on board with Khalil Herbert. Great option. Very capable and would set to inherit a huge workload if David Montgomery missed significant time. But someone else that I like, just given the uncertainty in the Eagles' backfield, is Kenneth Gainwell. I know he showed us some glimpses last year, but he's someone just given the uncertainty with Miles Sanders, and I'm willing to take a flyer on.
This guy Moody's my guy. This guy's my guy.
That was Moody. My guy. Yeah, it's my guy. So, you said what I wanted to say. I love him. Me and Bo were all over him last year. So
I'm a huge fan of Gainwell's game. That's just he just needs to get the consistent touches and opportunities, right, gentlemen?
I broke into football writing a couple years ago in the fantasy space, at least, with Memphis running back. Like I've been writing pieces on Memphis running backs since they were at Memphis. Like I was writing Pollard pieces when he was at Memphis. I was writing Gainwell pieces last year before he got drafted by the Eagles, and it just comes down to need. That team needs a big rotation, and Gainwell is so explosive, guys. He is Tony Pollard. He is Antonio Gibson. All these Memphis guys are so versatile, and they're so athletic. Working as a quasi slot receiver while the other guy is the tailback. Like they do that for entire seasons at a time until it's their turn to be the tailback. And what you get are these running backs that are pretty much, you can put them in a weaponized position all over the field.
Yeah.
And that's what I wish the Cowboys would do more with Pollard, because when that game 2 against the Chargers, when they went into town and just stomped all over them with 200 yards rushing, what did they do? They ran 21 personnel the whole day. They put Pollard in space. They put Zeke in between the tackles, just bludgeoning the Chargers to death up front with running backs going everywhere. I don't understand why they went away from it, because after that, like when Zeke had his knee injury, he was playing through it, but they got away from 21. They went back to the every 3 possessions rule that they use. It made no sense, because their best option was to spell Zeke by keeping him on the field, just not featuring him.
It's just, Bo has been a long proponent of thinking that your best players being on the field longer is better for your team. And I mean, it makes sense. Moody,
how many times did you curse at Noah Brown last year because he looked like CeeDee Lamb, but they had taken Cooper and Lamb off the field for a whole series for Noah Brown and Simi Fehoko or whatever. Well, Cedric was out there all the time, but But they would take them off complete possessions to put Noah Brown in there, and of course they look the same. They got the same hair length, the same bone structure running out there.
Doppelganger.
Yeah, Noah Brown's out there. Noah Brown's out there throwing blocks better than he can catch. And then you got CD coming out there, and he's out for an entire series. Like, what are you doing, McCarthy? What are you doing?
Analytics.
If you told a guy in 1995, you're telling Jerry Rice to come out for a whole series, he's gonna say, "Yeah, that's cute. I'm not going anywhere." But I don't understand the rotational wide receiver thing. It's not like these guys are out of shape.
No. All right, I love it. We do have to get to keep Moody. It's Sunday. I'm sure the fam is going to need him. So let's do some hot seat, spicy food questions to get him out of here. We'll start with nostalgia because you are a nostalgic guy, right? I put us nostalgic. Pizza meal from school. It's that gross Elio's pizza. We've all had it, but I will say this: there's been no pizza at school this year. Like it's been like twice because the food shortages and pandemic is up. My kids have been suffering at school, so they would even take that gross, nasty Elio's pizza. But how about you? What is one of your favorite nostalgic kind of meals from your youth? If you think back, that you love the most?
Yeah, I was kind of thinking of a couple of different things as you were going through that. I would say if you're talking about I'll give a meal in general and then like a school type meal. I used to always like the school meal whenever it would be fried chicken, like mashed potatoes, like green beans and like a roll. I'm like that was like the goat of school lunches when they had that. Pizza was obviously good, but I remember that. But just growing up in Alabama, near Gulf Shores and Mobile, I would say one meal that it's really hard to top is fried catfish or fried shrimp, French fries, like some fresh coleslaw and hush puppies. I'm like, that's the goat too. So,
I made the right choice not eating. I had food earlier today, but not for a while. I cannot wait to get some food after this. Those sound delicious. All right, Bo, I'm going to ask you, what's your favorite nostalgic meal that you enjoy?
Chili and cornbread, man. Chili and cornbread. And that's the same recipe. I designed my own recipe off my dad's, but chili cornbread, it's just everything. Like when you pull into grandma's house and you already know what's for dinner by when you get out of your car because they got all the windows open and the whole kitchen is stinking up the neighborhood with cornbread and chili smells. Like that hits the hardest for me.
I like it. I'm going to say mom's homemade pizza. There were 6 of us, 6 kids, so 8 total. So we made pizza. You had to make, everyone had to have their own pizza. My sister didn't like sauce. Someone didn't like pepperoni. Someone didn't like sausage. Someone didn't like vegetable. Yeah. Everyone. Next thing you know, like 8 pizzas are being made. So I love that because I would eat all the.
I made you your own pizza when you were here.
I ate it, and then true story, Moody. I was laying on the couch watching the Olympics or whatever, falling asleep. Mm-hmm. I forget. I just died on the couch. It was. I woke up.
He melted.
Pizza was on my chest, and then like 5 hours later, and then I just ate it. This is my pizza. I ate it. It was like one of the best days of my life. I got drunk on pizza, which I did not think was possible. But at Bo's house, it was possible. I didn't even drink that day. I just ate pizza. So. It was good. All right. Let me ask you for you. What do you enjoy cooking yourself? Because I can not cook as well as I can eat, if that makes any sense. I can eat pretty great, but not cook great. So for you yourself, what do you like making if you're like, I'm going to cook something for me that I enjoy for myself?
You can't go wrong with cooking, cooking steak. My favorite cut is probably like a ribeye. So cooking ribeyes, I love cooking Italian food and Mediterranean food as well. So those are kind of 3 things that came to mind.
Hummus.
Oh, Denny would say you cannot. The price of hummus is too much right now.
Too damn high.
Too damn high. I love those. Are all top seats for me. How do you take your steak? I'm a medium rare guy. How about you?
Yeah, medium rare. Yeah, medium rare.
It's the only answer.
I'm like if you come visit, you're not going to get a steak that's like well done or anything crazy like that.
No,
can't do it.
Yeah, no, not at all. No. Okay. All right. So, last meal. Sadly, the Lord's taking you home. You get the call. Hey, it's tomorrow. what are you eating if you know, like, and not like you eat everything, like you eat one meal, right? Like this is the meal that I'm gonna pick before I go.
Yeah. In that unfortunate scenario, here's what the epic last feast would be. You got to start off with a nice Caesar salad. Nice crisp romaine lettuce. Preferably homemade salad dressing. Start off
salad.
with that. Yeah, hey! It's just a starter. We're getting there. We're getting there. And so then you got to have a like a ribeye, cooked medium rare, bone in preferably. Lobster tail, nice twice baked potato. I also want to have a glass of Concannon Petite Syrah there as well for dessert.
Woo.
Rounding that off with a nice strawberry cheesecake with nice graham cracker crust and a cup of coffee. Then after that, I guess I'll say peace and I'm out.
That's
have the coffee.
I'm full just thinking about that.
Yeah. Hey, it's a last meal. It's got to be epic, right? Got to be epic.
Yeah. No, that's perfect. I love it. I can't even top it. But what about you? You're going out. It's your last day at Fantasy Pros, and they're like, this too is the last day of your life.
Wow, this show just got dark.
It got heavy.
My goodness. For me, it's probably like I'm super simple. Like I just love simple umami flavors. So it'd probably be this is tough because I change it every day. I'd probably go with my my grandpa's biscuits and gravy. I would have like a full-on biscuits and gravy breakfast with like over crispy hash browns covered in more gravy. All the gravy. If I'm dying anyway, I don't care if my arteries clog up. The biggest glass like of flower vase full of orange juice, like fresh squeezed orange juice. Like I want that breakfast feeling because for me, a big, huge like lumberjack breakfast for me does it. Like it makes me happy. Like most other meals, I'm tasting for flavor. You know how I am. I'm really particular about how things taste. For breakfast, I'm in a vibe. Like I'm just in a breakfast. This is nobody talk to me. I got my coffee and my OJ and my biscuits and gravy, and I'm vibing. That's what I'll do.
I love that. I'm gonna eat all of your food while you're vibing. I was gonna say your pizza, Bo. That is what I want to go out on. The same experience I had at your house.
Flattery gets you so far, Scott.
If I would have died that day, which I thought I might have after I ate all that pizza, and I had woken up, that would have been heaven. I would have been okay with that. I'd been like, all right, yeah, that was good. I went there. That's right. So,
dude ate a pie and 3/4 to his face. So yeah, he earned it.
I was, yeah. I mean, I did take some days off my life that day. For sure. All right, we'll get you out on this last question, and this is the one that Bo's just waiting to, trounce you on the internet for later. Because if anything, he'll clip this and then send it to ESPN and be like, your employee believes this about whatever food you don't, whatever. So
he must be canceled.
Unless he agrees with you, then he'll cancel me, which he should. But what is your kind of most controversial food take, whether it's a negative or a positive, either way?
Man, you already know. You already know where I'm going with this. Scott. So my take is that I would say cheese on sandwiches, hamburgers. It's very, very overrated, and queso should be banned. So clip me.
Here lies Eric Moody, canceled on this date in 2022. What?
Like I said it.
I'm not even as mad. Like I already knew I was mad about your sandwich cheese take because I've commented on it before.
I know.
But the queso ban that's a felony. Just to ban something is a felony on you because queso is like I would like if I'm choosing my last meal to be all that stuff. My cause of death, I want people to IV some queso into me to kill me off because, like you,
the queso.
Yeah, imagine that autopsy.
Oh boy,
Eric, I guess
I can't abide. No, you cannot ban queso.
I eat queso while I put the cheese on my sandwich, so I think I have a problem. This has been a health. Inspection for me. So
I melt cheese in my sandwich and then dunk it in queso.
Wow.
Bo and I are needing to make some life changes. It's not.
We are fat.
I'm working on it. I have a physical coming up, but I do regret.
Yeah, Moody looks like Evan Neal right now. We're like out here looking like Quinn Miners.
Oh man.
Well, I just want to say thank you so much for coming on. Where can people find you, your work? What do you have coming up next for ESPN and for all us fantasy content, subscribers and people who chase after this?
No, I would say first of all, yeah, to you gentlemen, hey, thanks again, for the invite. I'm glad we're finally able to do this. For those that are watching or listening, I'm like, you can find all my written, audio, video content over at ESPN. I do cover the NFL, NBA, and WNBA from a fantasy sports and sports betting perspective. Also, if you haven't already, don't forget to follow me on Twitter at Eric N. Moody. As far as I would say what's dropping next, I've got a daily column on ESPN Chalk that I contribute to NBA playoff betting picks next week, or this week, I guess you could say. Today is Sunday, but anyway, so I'll be on ESPN2's Daily Wager on Tuesday and Thursday, giving some betting picks and recommendations. Also have a bunch of fantasy articles coming up this week, that highlight sleepers and team previews for WNBA. Then, of course, after that, it's fantasy football will start ramping up. So I'm all over the place, but just to kind of paint a picture of what comes next and where you can find me.
I love it, man. Thank you so much for coming on, for sharing.
Mm-hmm.
And, it's so cool to kind of get to meet the person behind the Twitter account because like Bo said, there's so many great things that you've shared. They're just engaging. And then the person behind it, you jumped in and talked on one of our clubhouses when that was something going on, which I think we'll have to bring it back in during the summer. But that was something that was great. And my co-host over the Fantasy Millionaires was like, I love that guy. Who is that guy? And I was like, man, you don't know Moody? I said, okay. So then that was his introduction. And so we're so grateful that we could have you on. So thank you. Go follow him right now, Eric N. Moody, over on Twitter. And you've heard of ESPN, right, guys? You can find him over on ESPN. Bo, any last words before we get out of here?
No, you can find my stuff at my link tree to my Fantasy Pros, Team Rise or Fall, bigtimeflavor.co. for all the foods, hot sauce, free bottle of hot sauce, Mr. Moody. He's gonna get him some hot box, replace all the crystal in his fridge. You deserve better. You deserve better. And thank you again. Before we sign off, a quick Field, Yates, or Matthew Berry.
Yeah.
Had a feeling that question was coming. I guess I'll go with. Got to go with Team Barry. Followed Matthew for quite some time. For fantasy football, podcast that he was doing with Nate Ravitz, many moons ago. So I'll go with Team Barry. But I feel like I'm probably going to get like a Slack message or something in regards to this. But Team Barry.
Well, Field does watch the show.
I know he does.
You're safe. You're safe from Barry because I think he has me muted, so he'll never see this and give you the accolades you deserve for picking the correct side in Team Barry. The Godfather is the Godfather.
Yeah, I just have to say I'm not going to pick a side on this. But,
Boo!
No. Here's why. I think that ESPN is the side that I would pick. So you can not go wrong there. I would
agree with that.
Yeah, ESPN like 15 years ago. I forget how long ago it was. It was before I got married. So 18 years ago. That's crazy. So it's been around. ESPN's been kind of the gold standard for me. So Eric, thank you so much. Have a great time the rest of your Sunday. Thank your family as well for sparing your time for us. So follow me over at NibbleW Numbers on Twitter, and you'll see more food takes like breakfast sandwiches, which I apparently have a curse and I can only make. So we'll see you guys next time on Chalk Block. Peace.